I saw myself as being Eddie Murphy in Star Wars.
Will Smith has been a pillar in Hollywood for decades, until his decision to slap Chris Rock at the 2022 Oscars seemingly toppled his carefully built reputation overnight. So what happened inside Will Smith's mind in that moment?
I am overwhelmed by what God is calling on me to do and be in this world.
As a person from humble beginnings, Smith rose to international superstardom, wealth, and critical acclaim at a level very few actors could. In his memoir, Will, Smith describes studying Tom Cruise's career to achieve the goal of becoming the biggest movie star in the world. He went about this by focusing on an intensive promotional schedule and pouring energy into his music career. His persona was meticulously curated to the public as a great dad and good husband who kept a goofy, lighthearted demeanor even during serious conversations.
Yeah, and then I got into an entanglement with August. That's what I said.
An entanglement?
Yes.
His family has also been a key part to his success. His kids, Willow and Jaden, have become super famous and celebrated artists in their own rights.
And if you listen and you do everything that I tell you to do, I promise you, you'll be the second biggest movie star in the world.
And if he ever seemed to have taken any misstep in the public eye, he quickly recalibrated and regained control of his image. When rumors persisted of marital struggles between Will and his wife Jada Pinkett Smith, the pair openly shared details of their marriage and personal issues, so intimately that some deemed it too open, but in a way that still allowed Smith that control of the tone and spin of the discussion. In this way, for a long time, people have felt they could see behind the curtain of the rich and famous through the transparency of the Smiths.
I wasn't sure I was ever going to speak to you again.
I know.
Yeah, like the fact that I'm speaking to you again is a miracle.
Then, the 2022 Oscars reminded us that that was never really the case. The event revealed that something more was clearly going on internally with the Smiths than the general public knew about. Somehow, Smith's decades-long meticulous dedication to his public image led him to snap. And what should have been remembered as one of his career's highest moments instead became his lowest. Smith's childhood was fraught with domestic violence, abuse, and fear in a way that had strange parallels to that night and the years leading to it. And it seemed Smith's inner child came out and instantly imploded what has taken him over 30 years to build. What kind of stress causes people to revert to their oldest internal dialogue? The kind of stress that weighs on every celebrity. Having to bare their soul in a calculated way that wins them Oscars, while knowing their slightest step out of line could be their downfall. Here's our take on the slap shared around the world and what Will Smith's story reveals about the pressures of maintaining a persona as a celebrity.
You were carefully crafted Will Smith this thing, and you say clearly, that's not me.
If you're new here, be sure to subscribe and click the bell to be notified about all of our new videos.
That's the movie star walk.
Is that what that is?
A celebrity's ability to work not only depends on their artistic ability and work ethic, both of which need to be excellent as a prerequisite, but also the persona they project to the world. Take Joaquin Phoenix. He's known for his intentionally misleading, bizarre antics on talk shows and red carpets, and the roles he receives reflect that. His movies are dark, cerebral, and controversial.
Do I look like the kind of clown that could start a movement? I killed those guys because they were awful. Everybody is awful these days. It's enough to make anyone crazy.
Now, imagine Tom Holland in those same roles. That disconnect between those parts and Holland's image as a nice, straightforward, funny guy would be read by the audience as a type of inauthenticity or poor casting. Ironically, such an against-type role could be a great opportunity for Tom Holland to prove his acting range, but doing so would likely turn off viewers who have certain expectations of him. This is exactly what happened to Meg Ryan. In the 80s and 90s, she was America's sweetheart, a lock at the box office as a romantic comedy heroine. Her films like Sleepless in Seattle and You've Got Mail earned over $100 million each.
I wanted it to be you so bad.
But that public good faith was threatened when her real life didn't seem to match that rom-com image. Tabloids savagely reported on her affair with Russell Crowe while they were filming action thriller Proof of Life, even though her husband Dennis Quaid had reportedly been unfaithful for years. And when she tried to branch out into other kinds of movies like erotic thriller In the Cut and sports drama Against the Ropes, this failed with both critics and audiences who had a narrow perception of who they wanted her to be. Meanwhile, other actors might be able to have romantic entanglements without the same career damage because this matches their public persona. But part of the song and dance of Hollywood is maintaining a generally positive image. Celebrities past and present have had mental breakdowns, in part because of the pressure from the public to uphold unrealistic standards that were projected onto them.
They look back and they're like, what happened to your sweet image that you used to be? And I'm like, then when I came out, you thought I was too provocative. It's like you could never win.
I was literally encased in this, not a doll, but like this thing, and I'm literally like a Black Mirror episode, just say, beating on the inside.
This pressure is especially acute for Black celebrities. Kid Cudi, Wayne Brady, Lisa Nicole Carson, and Kendrick Lamar have all talked about their mental health struggles being compounded by the oppression they experience as Black people. And in our culture, when Black celebrities suffer public image problems, they're often not afforded the redemption arc many white celebrities receive. So it can feel even more urgent for Black stars to maintain a public image that protects them from any criticism. In his 2021 memoir, Will Smith calls his Hollywood persona Uncle Fluffy. This nice guy persona Smith put on was never allowed to be in a bad mood or have a bad day. This persona ran so deep that the first time he said no to a fan who wanted a video of him, he cried uncontrollably. Smith desperately needed for everyone to like him, not just for himself, but to succeed. He was well aware what could happen if he dropped his act. As he writes, Uncle Fluffy paid the bills. Over time, this felt increasingly confining. Quote, "The problem with Uncle Fluffy is that you are never free to make a pure decision, one that is honest and true for you. You are always forced by Fluffy to compromise and to do the things that will get the most approval, likes, or sales." But then, to clinch his 2022 Oscar win, Smith had to adjust this persona and add some new dimensions. In reality, winning an Oscar isn't as much about the nominated movie as the Academy would like us to believe. What appears like a glittery, glamorous night for the arts takes months of grueling campaigning that's been estimated to cost up to $15 million.
This is not just show. It's show business.
Many stars, like Monique and Boots Riley, have refused to do it.
And they called and requested that I fly to France for the Cannes Film Festival. I simply said I respectfully declined. I was doing a comedy tour. I was actually in the award season of the awards, and I'm also a wife, and I'm a mommy.
But the success of an Oscar campaign isn't just about displaying Will Smith-esque charisma during the endless events, press junkets, photo shoots, and interviews. According to multiple-time nominee Jordan Horowitz, the path to an Oscar is a combination of intense strategy and publicly telling the story of the movie or character in question. So for Smith, that meant divulging details of his childhood and parenting choices, which overlapped with Richard Williams, father of Serena and Venus Williams and the subject of King Richard.
You know, there was a certain amount of brutality that Richard Williams and my father suffered that, created a certain hardness, sort of blending that with my own parenting style. And it's my job to nurture and water them into becoming what they already are.
It was a level of meta performance where he was bringing aspects of the famously unconventional, brilliant, and protective father into his life.
I look like crazy father, just like they said about Richard Williams.
It meant digging up old memories that brought out complicated, sometimes dark emotions for him, all of which threatens to be at odds with unflappable, always smiling Uncle Fluffy. In today's economy, it's so important to save money whenever you can, and Stamps.com is here to help. If you're looking for a way to cut costs, mailing and shipping is a great place to start. Stamps.com gives you access to exclusive discounts and great rates on shipping, like up to 30% off USPS rates and 86% off UPS. Best of all, you can access it from the comfort of your home. If you're running a small business like we are at The Take, you know how valuable it is to make these processes as stress-free, easy, and inexpensive as possible. To use Stamps.com, all you need is a computer and standard printer, and you can start printing official postage in just a few clicks. It couldn't be simpler. For more than 20 years, Stamps.com has been indispensable for over 1 million businesses. So why not join them? No matter who you are, Stamps.com is the shipping solution for you. Start mailing and shipping with Stamps.com to save money today. Sign up with promo code THETAKE for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, plus free postage and a digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click the microphone at the top of the page, and enter code THETAKE.
But people call the Smiths the first family of Hollywood.
Will Smith has been a household name since his hit TV show The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air premiered in the 90s. Widely beloved, he rose from G-rated rapper to critically acclaimed A-lister. Before any of that, he was just a kid from West Philadelphia, born and raised.
Philly is stamped on my heart.
From the age of 2, he lived in a middle-class neighborhood with his mother, father, sister, and brother. Daddy-O, as Smith calls his father, was a believer in the transformative power of order and discipline, which meant that Smith was given little leeway for any mistakes he made growing up, perceived or real. When Smith's father would drink, he would become reckless and often violent.
I watched my father punch my mother so hard that she spit up blood. That moment, probably more than any other moment in my life, has defined who I am today.
Although Smith describes his father as his tormentor, he also sees him as one of the greatest men he's ever known. The 1985 Move bombings also happened just miles from his house. But Smith never talked about this to the public until last year, despite being incredibly vulnerable and open about his marital struggles with Jada Pinkett Smith. Some studies suggest that Black men feel even more pressure than white men to endorse traditional masculine ideology, like avoiding emotional expression to stave off societal pressures and oppression. The level of violence and chaos Smith grew up in is what originally created his persona, Uncle Fluffy. He believed if he was funny enough, sweet enough, harmless enough, entertaining enough, that he could keep his father occupied and his mother safe. Smith says it took most of his life to unpack this and many years of therapy to be able to speak about it candidly. And even still, he says, his deepest fear is feeling unable to protect the women he loves. When Smith's father would beat his mother, siblings, or himself, Smith wouldn't fight back, which created a deep shame about his ability to defend the people he loves.
What kind of kid stands there and lets somebody hit their mother and they don't do anything?
So we can see how the slap and his proclamation that followed appears to stem directly from the wounds of his inner child. As celebrities, the Smiths are accustomed to a certain level of scrutiny and critique.
You got to be able to have people talk crazy about you.
But Will and Jada's highly public marital issues have recently brought that criticism to new heights for the family. While Will and Jada have communicated the above-board agreement of their open marriage, many people have been narrow-minded in their responses, calling Jada a bad person for seeing other people, even though this wasn't infidelity, or mocking Smith for being tricked or manipulated or not man enough to leave his wife. Some have called Jada a cheater who tried to humiliate Will by talking about their sex life and using toxic femininity against Smith.
Now I gotta be with you at the press conference while you tell the world about your transgressions.
I actually don't look at it as a transgression at all.
So as problematic as Smith's acceptance speech was, with its doubling down on the idea that women need to be protected, this backstory offers insight into why he lashed out. Yet, as a result of the slap and the marriage controversies, 30 years of a nearly spotless reputation threatens to come crashing down, as people have now questioned other aspects of his history, like his possible links to Scientology, or whether he picked on his co-stars on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air like Hillary and Aunt Viv. Perhaps what we saw on the night of the Oscars was Uncle Fluffy's shadow side, which in his book Will, he terms the General. The General is a punisher who, like Smith's father, gives no quarter and will punish those who dare dissent. What has become more apparent in the weeks since the slap is that there was some pre-existing bad blood between Rock and the Smiths. Chris has made jokes about them before, and the Smiths weren't happy with them.
Jada's gonna boycott the Oscars. Jada boycotting the Oscars is like me boycotting Rihanna's panties. I wasn't invited.
Rock's joke, telling Pinkett Smith he couldn't wait to see G.I. Jane 2, was disparaging and insensitive given that Jada is suffering from alopecia.
That joke that Chris did, that was a way to insult a woman.
Rock may not have been aware of her condition, but Black women's hair has long been made political. And Chris Rock knows that. His daughter's dismay about not having good hair led him to create a documentary on the culture surrounding Black women's hair. When the joke first happened, Smith laughed. It's his default to be automatically affable and easygoing.
And you gotta smile and you gotta pretend like that's okay.
But upon seeing his wife's reaction, he sprung from his seat. The total surprise of what ensued made many unsure if it was a skit or not, and most failed to react to do anything besides let the show go on. No doubt the way Smith has always been seen as such a kind person contributed to the shock people felt and are still feeling. Smith was met with support in the room and a standing ovation from most of those in attendance during his acceptance speech. Outside the room and after the ceremony, though, while some people have still supported Smith,
I seen a man stand up for his wife, which we don't see that much anymore.
many people were uncomfortable or sad, and many have called for strong repercussions. A few celebrities even reacted with hyperbolic takes that have been described as pearl-clutching at best and racist at worst. Clearly, hitting is wrong, and Will should have never resorted to violence in a situation that in no way called for it. He set a bad example that was compounded by his speech's implications that men need to aggressively defend women in their family.
I'm being called on in my life to love people and to protect people.
But there is a layer of respectability politics happening here too. Numerous people have said this was the most shameful night in Oscars history, which would mean their most shameful night wasn't when they chose a segregated building, or when Sachin Littlefeather was almost attacked by John Wayne, or when Seth MacFarlane made a song and dance about seeing the breasts of actresses who were present at the show.
Kristen Stewart, we saw your boobs in On the Road.
And joked about Rihanna's experience with domestic violence.
This is the story of a man fighting to get back his woman, who's been subjected to unthinkable violence, or as Chris Brown and Rihanna call it, a date movie.
Smith has apologized to the Academy, to Chris, and his fellow nominees, but many aren't satisfied with that. People have called to have Will's Oscar taken away. Smith has resigned from the Academy, and he has been banned from coming to the Oscars for 10 years. Now, it seems Smith's road to recover his public image could be a long one. Typically, when a celebrity has a scandal, it will be PR'd away or the story passes. This situation feels different. This didn't happen behind closed doors. It can't be denied or explained away, and we all saw it and heard it on an international stage.
Keep my wife's name out your f***ing mouth!
People aren't their worst actions, but working in Hollywood is a privilege and a popularity contest in a lot of ways. One that Smith has won time and time again because of his talent, work ethic, and persona. With that last one shattered, what will happen to Smith? The opinions of people who do not know celebrities, but feel like they do, can cost a celebrity everything. People love to consume and criticize celebrities to the point where many budding stars question whether they're not built for showbiz. Smith has lived under that pressure for decades and excelled under it to a degree almost none have matched. So we shouldn't be shocked that, eventually, something snapped in him under all that pressure. One of the biggest movie stars in the world has let his persona fall for an instant, and the backlash has been swift and unrelenting. The silver lining could be that, in the future, people might be able to see Will Smith beyond the movie star, as a person who's not unfailingly one thing and not superhumanly composed and curated, as a person who makes mistakes, has regrets, and ultimately is working to be better.
Will Smith is great, but I'm ready to be me.
This is The Take on your favorite movies, shows, and pop culture.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.